This is FCTV, fan-controlled television. Programs created and produced for the fans, by the fans of fan-controlled sports and entertainment. As always, power to the fans. And now, it's time for the show!
Unmute me. I demanded I be unmuted right now.
Yeah, that was all on me.
How dare you? How
That
dare
was
you
all on
open the
me.
show like that?
I forgot to unmute us during the second video. You know, here's the thing.
Strike one.
You know, here's the thing about humanity is that, we're not perfect. And to hold yourself to such a standard is ludicrous. So,
Well, and
we're not always going to come out of the gate firing at 50 cylinders, and that's okay.
Kenny, the deeply held personal belief system that I was born into says that there was, in fact, one perfect person born above all, and that's Odin from the Norse mythology. So,
Sir Tony Hopkins. Hi, I'm Kenny Stevenson.
And I'm Sir Alex Enriquez. Welcome to Fan Controlled Fandom, your home for the news, reviews, and tips you can use about the Cape space.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, all the tips you can use about the Cape space.
How to watch it good.
How to be watching Cape stuff good. Like people fighting dragons, fighting space people, superheroes flying through the air. Not a lot of capes, but boy, did we get some big hair in today's episode of
I stacked mine up in honor.
Agatha all along. And I can't wait to talk about this episode because as somebody who does not like scary things like you do, I cannot wait to get your take. But because this episode was a lot of scary, a lot of scary. But we got to do some couple of other things first. Like we got to play this.
Yeah. At the sky, baby.
At the sky. Point at the sky, and we're going to talk about the quick pieces of nerd news. And there's like a lot pumping through the rumor mill this week. Specifically, we'll just start with something that I know you're very excited about.
Yeah.
As a self-proclaimed Green Lantern champion aficionado, James Gunn this week took to Threads, not Twitter. I mean, I'm sure he posted it on Twitter, but whatever. I saw it on Threads. James Gunn broke the silence. We knew there was going to be a Green Lantern TV show called Lanterns. We did not know who was going to be playing Hal Jordan. A couple of weeks ago, it seemed like everybody was saying that it was going to be Josh Brolin, but it is not Josh Brolin. It is Clear Minds, Clear Hearts. I never watched Friday Night Lights.
It's
Kyle Chandler.
Big minds, hot hearts can't lose.
Big Little Lies, as the crow flies.
These are the Thornbirds.
Kyle Chandler will be playing Hal Jordan in the HBO drama series, which I'm assuming if you're casting someone like you're looking at Brolin, you cast Kyle Chandler. This is going to be a man. This is a Hal Jordan in his late 40s, early 50s. I'm assuming, yeah.
I mean, literally in the hierarchy of ages that they've established, you have three definitively aged people. Hal is older than the Jon Stewart they've cast. I think Guy is older than all of them.
So are they saying, I guess because this is all DCU, we know for a fact that Guy Gardner, played by Nathan Fillion.
Nathan Robinette Fillion?
Yes, Nathan Robinette Fillion. Everyone's middle name is now Robinette. Nathan Robinette Fillion. Is he going to be part of this show too? Does his Green Lantern exist with these other two Green Lanterns because it's all one DCU, right?
Yeah, they've said that all of this stuff is connected. These will be, and that this is really the first time we'll have a chance to key into the bigger interconnectedness, basically the Thanos of this whole thing. And can I say two things about these castings and the news about the plot?
Let's also say Aaron Pierre was who was cast as Jon Stewart. And more of a newcomer than Kyle Chandler. Kyle Chandler, obviously, very established, acted in TV, film for many years. Aaron Pierre, Holy moly! If you want to ever get lost if you ever want to like get the description of being lost in someone's eyes, holy moly, this guy's got some windows to the soul like you wouldn't believe.
I can't look at his picture too long because I feel like it's looking back at me, like that old thing where they said, "Oh, the photographs they used to think it was stealing their soul."
Stealing
I think they're getting pieces
very
of
much
him.
the case. Very much the case. It looks like he is looking right at you, but not in like a menacing way, like in a way that's like, "Hey, sit down with me and on this couch, and there's a bunch of pillows." And
No,
we're just
I don't.
gonna-"
I don't feel menaced. I just feel seen, and I don't like that.
All right, say your two things about the plot and the casting.
So people have been saying that this whole thing about these lanterns are going to be investigating a rural murder on Earth or something like that, and that's so outside of what the lanterns are. The lanterns are about space, and sure, okay, yes, true, but we don't know who the murder victim is, and there is a very recent comic book arc, a big crossover that featured a new god, like I think it was the Black Racer or something, that got shot in Kansas, and they sent a Green Lantern to investigate.
Why can't it just be Racer? Why does it got to be the Black Racer?
Because he's death, he's all in black. He is also a black guy. I mean, it's a Kirby thing.
That's
it's
what
a
I'm
mixed
saying.
bag with
I
this
know.
Kirby thing.
DC loves to. Black Lightning is a thing in DC. They can't just call it lightning. I know.
But then the second point I want to make with regard to the casting of Jon Stewart, and this is just an issue I wish to raise, and not something I wish to necessarily weigh in on, because it's not a concern of mine and belongs to a community outside of mine. But I did see a piece of content today from a commentator who is he's a black guy, and he talked about how disappointed he was with the casting of Jon Stewart because it reflected a colorism that is prevalent throughout all of Hollywood, that Jon Stewart, by definition, is a very dark-skinned black man, to the point where he appended his post on TikTok. I wish I had the link, I would post it, but he appended his post with a semi-recent interview with the guy who created Jon Stewart, Neil Adams, who at the time they wanted to name him Julius Schwartz, and the editorial board at DC wanted to name Jon Stewart Lincoln Washington, and he said no.
God,
Neil
really?
Adams said to them, "That's a slave name. His name will be Jon Stewart." And he and the next thing he's like, they say to him, you colored him really dark. And because before that point, black characters were colored dark brown as their skin color to differentiate. And this was like the first dark-skinned black person in a mainstream comic book publication. And he said, "I know." He's like, "Well, did you mean to do dark brown? Maybe you just make it dark brown." And he said, "No, I made it this very dark pigment on purpose. I wanted to look like actual black people." And they said something to the effect of, "Do you think they'll be offended?"
Whoa.
And he said,
this?
This is like the late 60s, early 70s.
Okay, we're getting some. I was like, you could have also said this was last week, and I would have believed you.
I mean, even the sort of ham-fisted take at progressivism by not wanting to offend black people with the wrong decision, but still they say this to Neil Adams, and his response famously is, "No, black people know they're black."
Oh, wow. I love that take.
And so this dude was like, I mean,
society
he's the same,
makes it very clear.
I think he and Denny O'Neil are the same guys that made Speedy, Green Arrow's sidekick, a drug addict that has followed that character for 50 years now. That's a thing that character still deals with as part of his origins to this day.
His name is Speedy. It's tough when you name. Might as well just name your kid Heroin, and then you might see what happens.
Yeah, I'm Green Arrow's sidekick, Itchy Addict.
I'm Green Arrow's sidekick, Mike Cocaine.
Don't you think that's a little close to your actual name? It's like, no, I'm Michael.
No,
see,
my name is Mike Cocaine.
You're having it today, sir. You really
a good friend of mine, David Imlay. He made a paint. He's an artist, and I went to high school with him. And he's an artist, and he made a painting, and it was basically Michael Caine sitting in front of a huge pile of cocaine, and it just was called Mike Cocaine. It was fantastic. Anyway, Now that we're officially off all platforms.
Cool.
Yeah, no, I think that's, I would be interested if you send me a link to that video. I would be interested to read some takes on that, because it is something that you're right. That's not something that I should not talk on for more than the next two sentences. I can't speak on this, nor should I, but I'm always interested in listening.
Right. And same here. And he does point out that this is a trend, that, and even outside of necessarily Black characters, that he said, if you look at the Lilo Stitch, the original animated Lilo and Stitch, they depicted a very specific skin tone, a dark skin tone on Native Hawaiian characters. And now that they're doing this live action remake, everybody's got a little bit of a lighter skin pigment. And he does kind of cop to the idea that, yeah, they can hide behind the idea that a dark-skinned Black person will cut off the Chinese market. But
this was I love this is where we're starting off our show about Guga, but this was also a big critique. My writing partner is Afro-Latino, and this was a big critique about the In the Heights movie a couple of years ago.
He brings up In the Heights as well, that
In the Heights movie was, and it's fascinating to me how like these Broadway shows exist in this bubble, in this vacuum, and then when they release it broadly, it was like, it took Hamilton, the movie version of the stage play, to come out before somebody finally said, but Hamilton owned slaves, right? Well, it was on Broadway forever, and nobody had that critique, which is 100% true critique. But yes, the In the Heights was very much like, that doesn't look like Washington Heights at all.
No, he brings up a number of these other examples, and I mean, look, we can say one thing. I think that, yeah, again, just make space to listen to these things, because there is a bigger conversation to be had. This isn't just our little cotton candy fantasy thing. These are like billion-dollar decisions that are being made that reflect culture as much as culture is reflected back in them. I don't know. They're like, in order to break these patterns, we do have to make a start where we can.
Yeah, especially when a lot of these decisions, I'm not going to go too much into it, but look up Jodie Smith Turner, who played the like head witch on The Acolyte, and she was just wonderful in the TV show Bad Monkey on Apple Plus. Wonderful, wonderful show. She was absolutely phenomenal on it. But she just came out this week basically like calling out Disney for just letting people online say all kinds of racist crap about their television show and like never having its back, and then just canceling the show. So, there is something about, you're right, this like stupid business end of it, and how much power we give to what we always talk about on this show is toxic ownership, how much power they give to that.
Yeah. I mean, and this is, again, where we can create space. I think these kinds of conversations have always been a little thread in our show, and I just wanted to
absolutely
not let it pass. Not necessarily that I have a problem with the casting, just there are folks out there for whom this casting is important. And I'll say for me, I brought this up before. Part of my Star Wars experience forever will be being in line behind a family to pick up tickets for Force Awakens, and it was like the nuclear family: mom, dad, older brother, little sis, all so excited to see Finn. Just like, hey, I'm going to be up there as like a main,
100%.
And I'm like, I was like, oh, cool. They get to have this like extra jolt about this thing that I really love too. And like, is that not to be celebrated and not to be sought wherever we can find it?
There's room for everyone, and that's why we won't go too deep into this, but that's why I take a lot of joy, and you and I both take a lot of joy out of what's happening with Joker 2. Like, I just love reading takes of people who are just like, I don't get it. Why does nobody like this movie? I don't understand. It's literally like, I was on Threads and every person was like, I really enjoy, I don't know what people were talking about. I liked it. And it's like, white dude, white dude, white dude, white dude, white dude. And it's like, as a white dude, I can speak on this. Like, it's hilarious to me that people can be so tone deaf to like the market of something because they don't ever have to think about it. Like it's like it's like the inverse of somebody who is so excited to finally be able to see themselves on screen, like Black Panther as a superhero, or like Captain Marvel, like was a woman, centered superhero movie. That like white dudes, when they see like, oh, why doesn't this movie that I love that nobody else likes it? I don't understand. What are you talking about? Like I love it. It's like sweet vindication, baby. Because that first Joker movie is garbage, and it is just incel fodder bullcrap.
There's a video that might be going around right now of like the premiere or the first screening of the movie. It's Todd Phillips next to Joaquin Phoenix next to Lady Gaga. They're all up on a thing, very well dressed. The camera flashes are going, and you just see Todd Phillips talking to Joaquin Phoenix and then turn away and go. And then it goes to Joaquin Phoenix looking at Lady Gaga, and his lip reading says, "It's horrible." She says, "What?" He says, "Oh yeah, it's terrible." She says, "Wait, what are you saying?" He's like, "Yeah, it's awful." And she says, "Don't say that." He says, "No, it's really bad. Trust me." And she goes, No, don't say that. It's fine. It's great. But
yeah, like Lady Gaga knows. She's made one good movie. Everything else she's made is absurd. Like you can't watch House of Gucci and walk away being like, is that the same actor who was in A Star Is Born? I'll say this one thing about my favorite post about the whole industry in regards to the Joker and the way that the Todd Phillips and white male fragility is like such a thing. Like this person posted like, this is Hollywood in a nutshell, and it was 2 Hollywood Reporter articles. The first one was like, hang in there, Todd, and it's like Francis Ford Coppola sends Todd Phillips a message like telling him that everything's going to be okay.
At this point, isn't that like getting a message from the Joker?
And God almighty. But you know what I mean? But that's a story. And then the next story is Nia DaCosta, the director of The Marvels, a movie that everybody was like, oh, I hate this movie, women, blah, blah, blah. That is actually performing better than the Joker.
Much better.
And it says that Nia DaCosta found out was not invited to the cast and crew screening of the movie, and only found out that it was even happening because someone from the crew that she saw at another event asked her if she was going to be at the screening the next day. And she was like, what are you talking about? For clarity, Nia DaCosta is a Black woman. All right. So
that's flat filthy.
That is how Hollywood treats people. People of various walks of life.
The thing that they kept making a point of, and all of the press I read about the failure of Joker 2 is that, Todd's made $2 billion for the studio out of by spending maybe total $250 million on 5 movies now. Right?
Yeah.
3 Hangovers and 2 Jokers are $2 billion, basically.
And Due Date, that was another movie he made with Galifianakis and Robert Downey Jr. But like the first 2 Hangover movies and Due Date, those are probably like $40 million movies, $50 million that made tons of money.
Yes.
The third one I remember reading, they spent like $100 million on, which I'm just like,
that's just the cast. It's getting the cast to the location.
What? You should have spent more money on the script. We're almost 20 minutes in when we're on the first story. Another big,
sorry.
It's okay. There's only 2 big stories, then some kind of like throwaway stories that I have. The big story that I put in here that has now since been debunked since I put it in here.
Oh no. Wait, which one is it?
It's the Blade rumor. So apparently there was a rumor that a director by the name of James Samuel, who is, I will say, let me just say that he was announced that he is being circled as the top choice to direct Blade. He directed a movie called The Harder They Fall on Netflix, and he directed a movie called The Book of Clarence for Sony, which is a movie that I watched before I left the company, and I can speak very frankly about this movie. The movie Book of Clarence tonally doesn't quite work. I think like towards the second half of the movie, it's a little off. The first 45 minutes of that film are like inspiringly refreshing and different and interesting and interesting take and a lot of cool filmmaking. So when I read this, I was like, oh, okay, this is something here. However, he has now since come out and released a statement saying, I don't know where these rumors start, but I am not in talks to do Blade with Marvel. I love Me the Daywalker, though. I cannot wait to watch that joint. Sidebar, when Blade 2 came out, I prayed they would make Wesley Snipes, Christopher Lee, Blade 3. It didn't happen, sadly. So that's
now
news,
can
that's
never
not
happen.
news. Yeah, that's news. That's not news. So Blade is still just... Can you... I don't want to spend too much time on this, but like, can you think of any reason as to why this is a project that just nobody wants to work on?
No, I really can't. I mean, frankly, I've never seen any of the 3 Blade movies. I've
only seen the first one.
So I don't. I have like next to zero affinity for the character. Comes from an era and a publisher that I have no connection to from my childhood either. You'd think that this is kind of home runish because it has that built-in sort of familiarity to it. And in fact, I've read it over and over that if you don't have Blade 1, you don't get X-Men, you don't get Spider-Man, you don't get MCU, basically.
100%.
No cape space. So
no cape space at all.
So, it seems like it would be a home run, but I have to think that Feige's infinite wisdom is just, he's got the best spider sense in town. And even his misses or hits, he's looking at this and going like, it's just not coming together.
It's fascinating to me. I would love to know some of the machinations behind it. Eric Voss conjectured that there is like a Ryan Coogler, Michael B. Jordan movie, like a vampire movie that takes place in New Orleans. And that's apparently where the Blade movie was going to take place. So maybe there's something to that. But I think I spoke about it a couple of weeks ago. Like Eric Voss had the idea that just make it a Midnight Suns movie, which I think would be a killer choice. Do it and make it like a 6-episode limited series. Who gives a crap? Like, why we need to try? It's like, I don't know. It's fascinating to me how this movie, this one particular title that you're right, seems like just an absolute slam dunk, but they just can't seem to get it off the ground. It's fascinating to me.
I think that it would be an interesting experiment at the very least that. The closer they've hewn to comic books, it seems the more successful they've been with the movies and stuff. Even just the idea of the interconnectedness of the world has been a smash success. So reverting to this idea of like the showcase anthology comic or, hey, this TV series is just going to be strange adventures. We're going to pair up weird random background characters. It's going to be Moon Knight and Werewolf by Night in this episode.
I'm in
sort
for
of
it,
what if-ish, but in continuity, maybe a little more established. And to me that is an outgrowth of what was made the Hulk so successful. When they they figured out how to use the Hulk by keeping him in the background. And now people are like, people have kind of risen and fallen about with this. Where is our Hulk movie? And we got a She-Hulk show before we got a Hulk.
It's sitting
solo
at Universal.
project.
Universal has the rights to specifically Hulk movies. Disney owns the character, can do whatever they want with the character, but Universal still holds the rights to make any Hulk movie for some reason.
They'd have to have a deal like Spider-Man.
Yeah, but the Spider-Man deal requires that they make something. Like Sony has to make, like they just were talking about it on New Rockstars. They have three years, 9 months after the release of a Spider-Man movie to be in production of a live-action Spider-Man movie. And then that movie has to come out within 5 years, 9 months of the last movie. So they have to start shooting Spider-Man 4 next year.
I love that this insurance policy for the integrity of the rights of the character is just a way to. It's like a perverse incentive. Like, get a movie going. Go get something.
Well, it's like that. That was how the deals used to work. Like that's why there's the infamous David Cronenberg Fantastic Four movie. Was they had to make something or they were going to lose it, so they made this like intentionally terrible Fantastic Four movie that never was released. I think it had to be released in like a theater. I think they released it like in one theater once just to like keep the property, but that was how these things worked. And now the Universal thing with Hulk is like just for the film rights, so they're just like, whatever, we're just not going to do that. I think it's fascinating to me that I just think of the idea of doing a Midnight Suns. Oh, BC Lions is happy to see you, lads. Hey, good to see you as well.
BC Lions. Big up the BC Lions.
BC Lion, I know. I just love the idea of seeing like the Midnight Suns, because it's like you could have Mahershala Ali, Oscar Isaac, Gael Garcia Bernal, and then am I saying that right?
Yeah, Gael Garcia Bernal.
Yeah, Gael Garcia Bernal and Kit Harington, like chopping it up, and it's like that sounds wonderful to me. And then
with a special appearance by
Nick Cage
Ghost Rider,
as Nick Cage's Ghost Rider. Do it, baby! Like that's like that sounds fantastic to me.
It's you know what else sounds the table.
You know what else sounds fantastic? I did not know this was happening. They're making, because when Amazon bought MGM, they got all these properties, and we've talked about the Masters of the Universe. They also got Voltron. They're making a Voltron movie. Did you know this?
No.
They're making a live-action Voltron movie, and they just confirmed that Henry Cavill is going to be the lead in this movie.
How do you have a lead in a Voltron movie?
I don't know, but he better be driving the top of that lion head or whatever. It's supposed to be directed by Rawson Marshall Thurber, who directed...
Of Dodgeball?
Of We're the Millers, of... Dwayne The Rock Johnson's Central Intelligence, Skyscraper, and Red Notice. He is supposed to be directing We're the Millers 2, a mere 11 years after the first one.
Cool. Remember Baby Geniuses or Boss Babies or whatever? That weird dubbed movie with the babies. They had
Boss
like sequels
Baby?
10 years apart. No, not Boss Baby. It was the live
Baby
action
Geniuses?
movie.
Baby Geniuses.
Yeah.
Oh, what
they
an
had
insane,
sequels like 8 years apart.
Don't you want to know? You want to know who made those movies, Alex? Columbia Pictures. I'm very aware of the Baby Geniuses movies. They're insane. They're insane fever dreams. I gotta say, I don't know what Henry Cavill's doing in this movie, but sign me up. I like him a lot. I think he's a wonderful actor. Completely underutilized in the last season of The Witcher, which he then left because they were like, hey, I gotta go back and do Superman. They were like, all right, fine, we'll cast like low rent Chris Hemsworth and get his brother in here to do it, Liam Hemsworth. And then he's like, oh no, actually I'm not going to be Superman. Can I come back? And they're like, oh, we've already started shooting. And he's like, you know what? And then the season 3 came out and the reviews were terrible. And season 3 of The Witcher is terrible. And he's like, maybe it's a good thing I'm not in this show anymore. Cool, later. And
by the way, Dwayne The Rock Johnson getting to walk away from that whole thing, just kind of whistling with his hands in his pockets, is wild. He killed a whole studio.
Straight up, like, nuked the whole, like, is out here talking about how it's going to shift the balance of power in the DCEU and all this. I'm going to flex my Dwayne The Rock Johnson muscles, and I'm going to get Henry Cavill out of his Netflix contract to come in and shoot one little scene that nobody wants, but I do because I want to fight Superman. But even though I have a clause that I don't know how that would work, because he has a clause that he can never lose a fight. So I don't know how Black Adam fighting Superman would work anyway, because Superman would have to win. But
they'd fight to stalemate. They'd fight to stalemate and unite against, just like the end of Black Adam. Like he'd team up with him. And
what an absolutely stupid film. I have one quick piece of news, and actually I'll do real quick ones. Then we gotta keep it pushing here. Do you know that Michael Biehn, actor from Aliens, Terminator, the original, not John Connor, the other Reese, whatever. He was almost Batman. Do you know that? Tim Burton's Batman. He went in and met Tim Burton, and they were just meetings. They weren't auditions. I just went to go in and meet. And he was like, I was telling people how good I was and going to be at this role. And he had these whole meetings with Tim Burton. He had me in again. And he came and he met with his agent came in. He talked with Tim. He ended up, and he was talking with Tim for about an hour. He was almost Batman, but he wasn't. And I got to say, as much as I enjoy Michael Biehn, I have a whole script that I wrote about him with him in it. I think Michael Keaton was the choice.
Right, 100%. I mean, I think obviously it's a career expanding thing for Michael Biehn, but I don't think we get as good a Tombstone without him in it. So I think history worked out just the way that it needed to. Because also I read a whole Batman book about the history of the character, and I think we tend to forget what a moonshot Tim Burton's Batman was in 1990.
An absolute like a thing that would be seen as like, oh, that happens all the time. We get comic. That was just not a thing. It was like literally like Christopher Reeve's Superman was the last thing you could point to where it's a huge comic getting a film treatment. It just wasn't a thing that people did.
No. And
oh, lost you. Did I freeze too? I hope
frankly, they announced the movie. People say you did too for a second, but you're back.
Am I
okay,
back now?
But yeah, you're here. People would, when they heard the movie was being made, there were two reactions. It was either, oh, you're gonna do it like the Adam West show, or oh, you're gonna do it like the Adam West show. Those were the only reactions, and so this thing comes out, and it obviously has such, they re-brought him into the thing 40 years later.
They crushed it. All right. Speaking of crushing it, we crushed that with just a lean and mean 31-minute quick.
Ooh, boy, oh boy.
Super lean and mean. But this is the part of the show in which we have our one piece of sports news.
That's true.
We're on the fan-controlled sports entertainment. We just been giving you all the E. It's time for the S. And I know, speaking of E's and S's, F1, Formula One racing. Let's talk about it. Go.
Oh, yeah. Well, and it's big news off the track as the Haas MoneyGram F1 team has announced a sponsorship and technical partnership deal with legendary Toyota Gazoo Racing, the racing division of the Japanese auto manufacturer.
Gazoo?
Toyota Gazoo Racing. The history of the Gazoo name, it was a auto parts and car distribution website, a part of Toyota, that one of the VPs within Toyota secretly started a racing team and called it Gazoo Racing. And when it became successful, they appended the Toyota name to it because it was secret.
Sure.
Anyway, it's the racing division of the Japanese auto manufacturer. Toyota will supply know-how, design advice, and even build limited carbon fiber parts for Haas. Obviously, everyone sees this as a sign that Toyota is warming up to re-enter the Formula One grid as a team, or at least a power unit supplier. But the car company says there are no plans for either at this time. Back to you, Kenny.
I love it. I love that we learned about Gazoo. Since BC Lion has checked in and listening, and as I am also a big ups to the BC Lions, this past weekend they beat the Calgary Stampede to clinch a playoff spot in the CFL playoffs this year. Very excited. We are 8-8, 5-5. We are sitting at 500 and that's very reflective of how we are as a football team. We look really good sometimes, and then other times we don't. But all you're asking for is a chance, and that's what we have right now. There's still 3 more weeks in the season. They play 21 weeks of football in the CFL, and there's only 9 teams. So suck on that, NFL. That's my piece of sports news.
You know what they say on any given Wednesday or whenever the hell they play.
They play Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in the CFL, baby. Friday night football. We got Friday night football tonight with Toronto playing Winnipeg tonight.
Ooh, nice. Under the lights.
And the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are on a tear, looking like the Winnipeg Blue Bombers that we've known for the past couple of years. And that was coming out of the gate with like 4 losses in a row. Anyway, Alex, who's our corporate sponsor for the show this week?
Well, and we natural disaster preparedness is on everybody's mind as we wish the South, well in recovering from 2.
Keep it classy with this.
No, that's not. I'm saying, like, obviously we wish everybody well in a speedy recovery, and but we also in California we have our own natural disasters. We have earthquakes, and so the South Buena Vista Earthquake Council wanted to sponsor this week's episode with some earthquake hints and tips to survive our own natural disasters, earthquakes. So the first one is make sure you've got an emergency supply in case you need to make it without running water or medical care for a day or two. Call your local utility companies to do a safety inspections of pipes and fittings, which in many cases can be done for free or at very low cost. It includes your water and your gas. The safest place to be during an earthquake is not on Earth. If you can, try to have a flight booked during the next trembler.
If you can.
If you can. If the next quake winds up leveling all of society, try to have small hordes of things that might wind up being currency in a post-apocalypse. Scholars say beyond basic resources, things to consider hoarding as wealth are wet wipes, hot dogs, and wigs. And they also want to say the South Buena Vista Earthquake Council no longer believes Asian people make earthquakes to scare the round eye. So that's earthquake tips from the South Buena Vista Earthquake Council.
That's crazy. Marjorie Taylor Greene would probably have some different things to say about that, but because she thinks that people control the weather. But let's talk about Agatha all along. Let's talk about it. Episode 5. This was Spooky Season. This is directed by Rachel Goldberg, written by Laura Monti. The Salem Seven chase the coven, who evades them using makeshift flying broomsticks. After being pulled back down the road, they enter the next trial, which takes the form of a cabin with a 1980s aesthetic. The group uses a Ouija board and makes contact with the ghosts of Agatha's mother, Evanora, who was killed by her daughter in 1693 along with her previous coven, revealed as the mother of the Salem Seven. Warning the coven to leave Agatha behind, Evanora possesses her and attacks the group. Alice uses her powers to expel Evanora from Agatha, who proceeds to absorb her magic. The teen, noticing another spirit's presence, tries to stop Agatha by shouting its name, Agatha's son, Nicholas Scratch. Agatha stops, but Alice dies. Agatha insists that it was accidental while the teen lashes out. Lilia and Jen affirm that their goals are the same as Agatha's, which I'm assuming means to take everyone's powers. The latter mocks the teen by stating that he is just like his mother. Angered, the teen magically forces Lilia and Jen into tossing Agatha into a mud trap before blasting them in as well. As the witches sink, a headwear similar to that of Wanda's Scarlet Witch appearance appears on the teen's head. Alex, what did you think of the episode?
I really enjoyed myself, and despite the scaries,
I was gonna say let's give your take about the content, then we'll talk about the scaries.
I really enjoyed, from a story standpoint, I really enjoyed how they moved things forward in this episode. It was really it gave our friend Catherine Hahn quite a bit to do, which was very impressive. Yeah, I loved the reveal. I just am really impressed with this series. I'm having a great time. And also, let's, just give it up for Aubrey Plaza, who just, like, every time the camera finds her at all, even in the background, she looks like she's having a blast. And there was one scene where, like, like they look up and Agatha's possessed and everyone's like running around scared and she's like kind of like ooh, like laughing at it. It's just like great take, like super funny stuff, man. Yeah, I dig what this show is doing. I have some little nits to pick here and there, but and that's more just because I loved the kind of era of horror movie they were living in during this episode. But yeah, this is really, like, we keep talking about how this is TV and this is a television show and this is written like a television show. This has arcs like a television show. This has linear things that are happening. Just like, it was just a really cool, fun, like, they have set up the kind of sandbox to play in and they are very much playing in the sandbox. And you're right, Catherine Hahn is just like, she got to do a Deborah Jo Rupp impression at some point. That was awesome.
She was possessed like an old school, like, exorcist. She was, the turns that she makes when accusing her of killing her and killing Anne, and then she makes that quick turn of, like, he was like, I don't want to be this way. And he was like, you're not like your mother. Or what? Like, that turn that she made was just fascinating. It's just like, it's like we love talking about on this show. It's like when you know what you have, you write to that. And that's when these goo-guy things work the best, is when you know what your pieces are and how to move them around the table. That's like why we keep going back to Secret Invasion, but Secret Invasion never, like, kind of missed the mark because they just were like, didn't know what they were working with for some. I don't want to speak on what they were doing, but like this, just, they know what they're doing. It's great.
Yeah, I agree. That's it. Like, part of it to me, which is talking about that kind of TV feel. The Acolyte had this too. It really is a feel thing. I think maybe the entire coalescence of how the story is approached, how these things are written, and the contained nature of it,
Yeah.
like everything's so squeezed in. Like the idea, sort of, that they're on the witches' road, they're being chased by these guys, and there's no thought to like, oh, can we just go into the woods over here? We just have to keep going for like I don't know, that feels very TV to me.
Yeah, and the idea that like if you venture off this road, you get pulled back down. Even if you use a witch's broom to soar above it, it's gonna pull you back. I also love this the conceit of the show where we are right now is these tests are these different houses. Like, I like it because that's, you think of like Hansel and Gretel, you think of Wizard of Oz, which has witches. There's a lot of witch stories that end with like roads. But I love, in terms of TV wise, it's like, okay, great. Yet have they gone into a house where you don't know? I mean, maybe the Big Little Lies house was a little kind of cavernous and you don't know where they are. But everything is really like, they don't walk in and it's like the TARDIS for Doctor Who where it's bigger on the, you know what I mean? Like they walk in and everything is all kind of contained in there. And it's these really, it goes back to the practical nature of the show, how it's all practical sets and a lot of the effects are practical. And like, yeah, let's just build a set that's one room and that's where everybody is living in. And we seem to be hitting like the kind of theme of the rooms less and less as we're going on. I mean, that's some of the nits I have to pick about this episode. But let's talk about the scary. How much of this was hard for you to watch?
I think there was some mounting tension moments that I really like. I checked in with myself that I was like, oh God, my stomach's a little tight. Like
there was a couple moments where I was like, when she's revealed on the roof, I was like, Alex, he's not gonna like that.
I mean, just the mounting up to that, like the expectation of the jump scare that kind of they gave you a soft version of it, a TV version of it, but yeah, they really got me. I was this is, you know what, Kevin, that's your one, and now no more scaries for me. I'm going to
I don't think you're gonna get it. I feel like with those, what do you feel about the Salem 7? What's your take on them? Are they enough to watch? Like, especially when there was like the guy opened his mouth and it was just like all bugs. I'm gonna open my mouth and it's just bugs.
See, that's the thing is anything that I see as a special effect doesn't bother me. Gore, anything that it's literally just filmic technique of rising tension and a jump scare is, that's what gets me.
Well, we had to have them this week because we were in an 80s slasher movie. Like we were in Friday the 13th, we were in Slumber Party Massacre, whatever. Like that's what was happening. And I love the thing that this show has done so freaking well and that's the reason why they've hired the Lopez husband and wife duo who literally wrote freaking
Let It Go
is because they get these stings and stingers and little music they have for each little world that we're in per week are so perfect. Like the kind of like 80s horror movie soundtracks to me are like, I just dig them. Like I love we're in this world where I'm not a big horror movie guy in terms of like, I'm not going to see Terrifier 3 this weekend. I'm not interested in watching stuff where like, how brutally can we murder people? Like I'm not a like murder porn guy. I don't care about that stuff. I like the old like classic, well, not classic, but like 80s slasher thrillers, like camera angle. We're not seeing the killer that much. And then like really goofy, like
synthy.
Like I love that stuff. Like there's been a lot of good stuff that's come out in the last like 5 or 6 years that's nostalgic. That's just really hits that note really well. And so I loved like hits that literal music note well.
Good night, everybody.
But yeah, so I really appreciated some of the work that was going on. What I will say, one of my one nits to pick is, and I'll say this question: what exactly was the challenge that they had to complete in a half an hour this episode? Like, what exact was it? To say the kid's name?
To figure out who the spirit was or contend with that. I mean, I think really what the challenge was, is Agatha willing to cross that final bridge again? Like, who is she really?
I
And
mean, I know that's like character wise. I just think about like if we're creating this conceit where we have to do something in order to pass each one of these is a test. And this was Agatha's test, was her, I guess you're right, was her real test to like reveal her true motivations for being on the road.
to see how far she'd go. Yeah, I think that was the true. I mean, that's
The true tests are the friends we made along the way.
Yes, that's true. I mean, maybe I'm overextending creative credit. Maybe there is a hole there, but it seemed to me that like, oh yeah, there's the real hubbub of it, and for all of them too. And maybe that we start to see the test be a little different from now on, especially because like where we're left is that it's just him and her. And Rio? It's just him and Rio left.
It's just him and Rio on the road. We have no idea where, but I'm sure we will see some sort of place where they go to. Like they're not just gonna like kill Agatha and Sashir. I mean, they can maybe kill Sashir. They pretty much killed everybody who's not like in the top 4 of the call sheet at this point.
I think they'll continue killing. I would like to see though, how many of those little like future seizures that Lilia has have already come to pass.
Ooh, I'm sure that's something that New Rockstars is keeping tabs on.
Because I don't remember if they're all like contained within an episode, or if she's seen things in the very beginning that you haven't seen that reaction yet.
I'm sure that they're going to link it all up. But if they don't, I'm sure that definitely smells like a video that Eric Voss is shouting at me when I'm watching it. Welcome back to Rock.
Welcome. Everybody knows their favorite YouTubers' cadences. Just like without knowing it, you know how people say like and subscribe, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah. Smash that subscribe button. Yeah, I just was a little, I guess as these, the first test was so intricate, you know, there were so many like things you had to do to pass the test. And then the second test was just play the song once. And then the third test was like, show your true self. Like I feel like storytelling wise, I don't want to critique this because I haven't seen the whole story, but there's a reason why you drop that in the middle. We still have 2 people who still need to have their tests that we haven't had their tests. You know what I mean? So there's storytelling wise why we did that. So I'm interested to see if that's revealed or not. I just was like, and that might just be selfishly because I've just really enjoyed the last 2 houses. I was like, God, if we're going to spend 45 minutes in one of these houses, one of these past 2 would be really fun, as opposed to like the gaudy Monterey, as much as I love Monterey, the gaudy Big Little Lies house. I don't know. That's just me being nitpicky.
My dad said that Monterey is where God would live if he could afford it.
I want to retire there so much. And there's a little place next door called Seaside that is like where the like normal folk live. The people who have to like clean everyone's houses, they all live in Seaside. Well, they all probably all live in Salinas and then drive over. But Seaside is like where the people who teach at Cal State Monterey Bay live. And I'm walking around that neighborhood. I was like, this is it. This is where I want to retire. I don't want to live here. Done.
Ooh, man, let's dream about that. And with folks, with your support, you keep hitting that like and subscribe button. You'll get us there, baby.
Keep smashing that subscribe button. So this is something I wrote in the show notes. I'm like, where are we going? I wrote, will there be consequences for Agatha's actions? So, or even better yet, I should ask first, she clearly like, there's this whole like, I can't control it taking somebody else's powers, but it seemed like she was controlling it, right? Like she killed her, right?
Yeah, yeah. That was. She didn't seem as remorseful, certainly at the end, as somebody who wasn't in control would be.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, well, because she had that moment where she was like trying to see if she had some sort of power and she still didn't have it yet, right? So that means, but then Sashir made the point that like that's why we're all here. We're all here to try to take each other's powers. So I'm interested as to where we are going, especially now that Teen is not her son. Teen is Wiccan, right? That's what we are, which is. Did you know that you said there was the Funko Pop thing that revealed who he was? Is that what was revealed to you that you knew going in?
That he was Wiccan, yeah.
Yeah. So the linking up works. He said he's 16 in this show, which after spending a lot of time with him, I'm like, 16 going on 24? What? Like, you're not 16.
No.
British, though. I just figured out he's from the show, or Australian, that show Heartstopper on Netflix. That's a show that he is also on. He's not American. And his like, I'm a Brit doing an American accent came very clear to me in this past episode. But due to the fact that, like, we now know, like, you know, he said, I've had a rough 3 years. And I guess the conjecture is that Wiccan was 13, which I don't believe at the end of WandaVision at all. But it could be 3 years since Multiverse of Madness. Does that seem right? I feel like that is.
I have no idea.
I think that's right. Well, no, 2022 was Multiverse of Madness.
We definitely.
But we're 3 years ahead. So yes, the MCU is 1 year ahead of us. Based on the timeline of 20, it is. It's 2025.
I thought they were in 2026.
It might be, but either way, I think that's what the implication is that last time we saw Wiccan, he was 13, and then now he's 16. And so that's why so it's interesting to see as to where this is going. This leads to like Elizabeth Olsen watch, though, I feel like has kicked up quite a bit. I do think she's going to show up in this show now. Is that what you think?
I hope so. Because the more the better. It goes back to what I was saying about like how they should introduce these characters in these like big, ensemble anthology shows. Like smash everybody together. That's the most fun comic books, the crossovers.
Yeah, I just don't know if like because this show is putting itself as a TV show. I don't know if it merits that kind of thing, but I do think Scarlet Witch showing up makes a lot of sense. Like, I think it wouldn't be something that we're like cramming into this thing. Like, I think back to the end of WandaVision, when Monica Rambeau is like, my God, why can't I remember who Samuel? Nick Fury wants to talk to you up at the sword. Like, that was like a little throwaway line at the end, which I'm like, fine, but I think was kind of counter to what that show was doing, which was like really street level. And granted, it was 2021. It was the first TV show. It was the first Marvel thing we'd got in a year. So that's why we were like, Mephisto, oh my God, the scientist is Reed Richards. And like, what we didn't know, like, but like, no, this is what we have. So, but I do think, like, although I got to tell you, there was a couple of times in that Ouija board, I thought the Ouija board was going to spell Mephisto, right? Were you not thinking that?
I thought the same thing.
And they said his name, and traditionally in comics, who creates Wiccan?
I don't know.
I believe it's Mephisto because Wiccan is never there. Scarlet Witch's kids are never like, they're immaculate conceptions, right? They're never actually like, there was no boning done to make those kids, is my understanding.
The indications I'm seeing is that he is canonically the son of Scarlet Witch and Vision.
Canonically in comics?
Yeah.
I thought I read something about that Mephisto has a hand, and that's why they kept showing like the Gravedigger and the Gravedigger thing in WandaVision. There were a couple of Gravedigger like Easter eggs because Vision. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, we're circling Mephisto. I'm just saying, I think Wanda is, there's going to be some sort of like, maybe it's like the final thing at the end, like post credits, Wanda is like alive.
To reestablish her at least. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Because, he got that crown on her head like his mama. Got them blue instead of them reds.
Yeah. And distinct from purple that Agatha wields.
So many different colors. So many colors.
All of the wind.
Oh my God! Paint with all the colors of the wind.
Don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me what to do.
Don't look up the actual age difference between Pocahontas and John Smith, because you realize that's why Disney has kind of quietly not like Pocahontas is still there, but we're not like going to suggest it to you if you've watched Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and Hercules. We're not going to be like, hey, you should also check out Pocahontas. We're just going to kind of let that creep out because a basic Google search reveals some stuff.
Remember who played John Smith too?
Oh, Mel Gibson. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. Of course. I mean, it's so great to see him working again. I love that people are constantly putting him in things that we've forgotten about, all the stuff that he's done.
They do say that Hollywood is the town that always forgets except when it doesn't. So it's fine.
Yep. Like it's a whole other story, but the fact that like Mel Gibson and Casey Affleck are out here rolling around and other people are not. I don't think any of them should be really rolling around. You know what I mean?
Let's put the monsters in the away where they don't.
Let's put them away. Let's definitely not give them Grammys. Louis C.K. He's won like 2 Grammys. Like, come on, man. Anywho, what was I gonna say? So where do we think this is gonna like? Are we gonna be? Where do we think we open up next week? Are we gonna be in some weird like underworld, Agatha and I don't know. I just like saying Lupone and Zameda are under the road, and then Rio and the teen have to do the next test. Like what's going on here?
I think we open with. I'm imagining because we don't know where Rio is, right? That's how it ends. It's just kind of ends with him.
Yeah, she was not there.
So her coming up on him, not glowing, maybe he puts the powers away and has to kind of trick her into thinking he's still the teen. I don't know where they went.
She knows who he is. She knows who he is.
Does she? Well, she just knows that
he's not Nicholas Scratch.
Or maybe she does full on know who he is. I don't know. Maybe she pretends not to know. It's fun. This series, I don't like. Part of my enjoyment of it isn't the need to speculate. It's a fun ride to be on. I mean, to the point where when they were riding on those brooms, I genuinely got like a.
I loved that. I thought that was super fun. I like that this show loves to kind of operate in this kind of witchy place, and it's like when you watch like Ocean's 11 or any of the Ocean's movies, and they talk about like what con they're gonna do. Oh, we should do like a Wicked Larry. Oh, really? We don't have a power cord or whatever. You know what I mean? All these there's all this like stuff, but they don't take time to explain it to you. Like I love that stuff. And when they're like making, and the one she's like, oh, is that for me? Can I have one? Well, yeah, you have to give me one too. Like a witch can't incant their own broomstick. They have to cross it with someone else's and then switch. Like that stuff is like super fun, super cool. Like I love that they're just doing that. That's probably written somewhere in like lore, but who cares? It's great.
I think like linking it to a phenomenon, it's throwaway world building, and I've always likened it to you fought in the Clone Wars? Like Luke said that in 1977.
Yeah. It's just the thing that this show gets to do so well is just exist. Like it doesn't have to bring in iron. Like we don't have to explain how Robert Downey Jr. is Doctor Doom. We don't have to even be in the same like room that lecture is happening. We're like 5 halls down, and we are playing around with magic and stuff. Like it's such a great kind of place to be. So that's why we don't like. The only reason why I ask like speculation corner is just because that's what people talking about shows do.
I mean, I think I just it's interesting to me that as part of my experience, it really isn't. I'm not sitting here going like, oh, what's next? I mean, I
Yeah.
really am. It really is doing a good job drawing me into those moments. But like I said, to the point where the horror movie cinematic techniques they were using really worked on me.
It's pronounced horror.
Horror movie, not a horror movie.
It's not a horror movie. Pardon our French.
It's so that is my comment. If I had to speculate, I mean, I think that they're going to have to get into a big fight. I mean, Agatha's probably going to kill the last two witches to get into a big fight with Rio and Billy.
It's interesting. I think based on the arc of her character, I feel like she's going to have to not kill people, but who knows? Or I don't know. I love to. There's conjecture corner. You can sit there and you can do that all day online. But I have something that I definitely need to ask you. Is this Star Trek or Star Wars?
Star Trek, baby.
Now, this is so, especially because it's so television.
Right.
And because we are on a set and we keep talking about this, like, this could at any point, like, a Mylark could walk out and be like, you have to solve these riddles 3 to, or whatever.
Yeah.
But first you have to step into this world that's 1920s Chicago.
Yeah. Put on a sweater.
Like not 2164 Chicago, specifically 1920 Chicago.
I mean, the conceit that these challenges just supernaturally shape to the context of the people within it, and any number of other groups of people from any number of other dimensions or places would see what was appropriate to them, but it always just like, oh, it's stuff we've seen too. How convenient.
Yeah, like if at any point in your content, like Q could walk out, it's Star Trek. Like at any point during this show, Q could just walk out and be like, are you enjoying the game? You know what I mean?
Yeah, literal Q. And he'd be like, oh, cool, him now, cool.
Yeah,
I'm glad he's getting his SAG health insurance this year.
I think he gets enough on residuals to qualify for insurance.
You can't qualify off residuals.
Yeah, you can. It's how much money you earn, baby.
It's new money. I thought it was new money.
Oh, that's right. It is new money. That's because I haven't qualified for a couple of years.
I've never qualified.
I qualified for back in 2019. If I would have hit it, I would have qualified for full vetted pension. But I missed it by $300.
Jeez.
I was gonna do, but I mean, not three. It might have been like two grand. I was gonna do background. I was gonna, my buddy, my writing partner was gonna get me on This Is Us just to do some background, just to qualify, but he couldn't get me on.
Dude, like, would you like if you had gone to like a third callback and a fourth callback, would that have counted? Like, would penalty money have counted, or is it just
acting? Penalty money would count. Yeah, penalty money counts.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
that?
I one time
I've once or twice. I got one time back when you used to not be able to say improv at an audition. You can now say that. That's a thing. You used to, if you had. This was like, forget when the actual contract was, but if you said improv at a commercial audition, they'd have to pay you. If you were to turn to somebody and say, you need to improvise. I once came in for a third callback for a commercial, I believe directed by Pete Farrelly. I believe I went into the room with Pete. And they came back and they paid me specifically to improvise. They gave me an improv bump to come back to do a third. So I got a third callback bump, and I got the improv bump, and they specifically said, we want you to go off script. And I was like, okay.
That's nice.
I signed the contract and everything. And did I book the commercial? No.
Oh. Well, I never have chased that money. The only time it's ever come into play, I got a notification. I get an envelope from SAG. I open it up and it says, hey, you're going to be getting a check. It's going to be this amount of money, and we're sorry for the delay in the payment. And it basically, the place that I'd auditioned submitted the paperwork to get me paid for a third and a fourth callback or something. And then the client didn't pay. So there was an extra penalty that SAG also, I didn't pursue any of this. It all came to me, the agency, the casting company, the union, they all took care of it. And
I did all that. I've done all. I've been called. I've been down the street driving home and called back for a third call, and they were like, they want you to come back in. And I'm like, well, didn't this count as a third call? And they said yes. And I'm like, well, then you got to pay me, otherwise I'm not gonna come in. And they were like, okay, we have to. I'm like, all right, great. Turned around, came back. Total bull crap. Like I was on a veil for the spot already. Maybe I wasn't turning around. I think it might have been the next day. But I was like, I'm not going to come in unless this is a third callback. You have to pay me. And they were like, okay, yeah, we're going to pay you. I'm like, all right. I came in and I was already on a veil for the spot. And I came in and there was like 30 people there. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And it was like their first call. So It was like, I know this guy's on hold, but did we see everybody? And they brought in like all the funny dudes. And I was like, and everybody on the call sheet was like, first call, Mike, third. And they were like, okay, they actually want you to wait until they see everybody, but we are paying you, so don't worry about it. I'm like, all right. So I had to sit there and watch every other person go in to a straight to callback. And then I went in and didn't get it.
Dude, yeah.
Anyway,
I was there.
Screw this.
I was on hold to be Flo's sidekick.
Oh, the Jim Cashman role?
Yeah, but this is like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Like 10 years before he started doing that role. And same thing happened. It was like my third callback, and all of a sudden, like I'd already like improvised with Flo. And all of a sudden I get to this fourth callback, and like, why is Amir here? Our friend Amir is like in every other commercial. I'm like, oh, all the big commercial hitters are here. I'm like, crap.
They're like, let's make sure we didn't screw this up, even though this guy's already on hold, and then let's bring him back here so we can really make him feel like absolute dog crap before he has to come back in. Like,
but by the way, they scuttled that whole campaign for years. They tried to do a submit your video to why you should be Flo's sidekick, and people were like making their videos, and they never did that. And then all of a sudden, like I remember it, Jim Cashman started showing up in that kind of position. I was like, he got it.
He got it. I'm sure Stephanie Courtney had something to do with it. Who is the big winner this episode?
Stephanie Courtney. I
love the human being, by the way.
She's the best. Stephanie Courtney is one of the most talented people ever.
Alex and I both know Flo personally. She's fantastic.
And her husband is also just a mensch of all mensches.
A mensch of all mensches.
The winner is Aubrey Plaza. She once again proved to me, and like there was a moment there where she like yelled for the mom to stop possessing Agatha, where she brought actual force there. That's an angle of hers that I had not yet seen that I really appreciated. And I think she's going to be a super mega star. It's going to be great.
I know they should cast her and stuff. I love that part too. I wanted to call on that, the fact that that's a great way storytelling wise to imply history, romantic history between two people without saying it, is by having them show how upset they are when the person's mother shows up. Like, that's perfect. Like, great storytelling. Yeah. I think Catherine Hahn is still I think she's just the big winner. She's crushing this. This was an episode where they gave her a ton of stuff to do, and she was like up to the task and was like, she really earns that number one on the call sheet, as we keep talking about call sheets. Big Loser, we're just giving you a pass, Kevin. You just are going to keep getting a pass up until you don't in February 14th. So we're just letting this slide for the time being. In February 14th, we better see that goddamn boat.
Time's ticking.
Tick, tick, tick.
Mr. Feige, and frankly, I think now that he knows he has the pass, he's really making the most of it. He's really kind of rubbing it in our face that we don't have the boat yet. And he's got time. It's an embargo. October
11th. So you got October, November, December, January, February. You got 5 months, my guy. Where's my camera? 5. That was a lot.
Now that we're, I'm going to be a little freer with my language here. I'm going to say something very vulgar. Okay? Are you ready?
Okay, I'm allowed to go ahead.
When this boat comes on screen, I might piss my pants.
I love it. Yeah, you know what else I want to love? Some of our disaster preparedness from our sponsor this week.
The South Buena Vista Earthquake Council, they want you to be safe the next time the earth starts to shake. If you are outside during an earthquake, make sure to stay away from tall objects that may fall, like tree limbs or telephone poles, and watch out for downed power lines that may still be electrified. Nothing beats a good hot dog with a snappy casing, especially in the middle of a quake. Next time you feel the shaking coming on, safely run to the fridge and grab a Frank from Farmer John Hot Dogs. Thank us later. They also want to say an earthquake can complicate adult activities. If you think an earthquake might be on the way, try to finish up real quick. And if you haven't started yet, don't. There's some stuff down there you for sure do not want to sprain. Just ask our old Uncle Feech. He's got stories, that old Feech. So those are some more tips from the South Buena Vista Earthquake Council.
Uncle Feech.
Yeah, Uncle Feech. He's got stories, old Feech. He does.
Oh man, I love it. All right, we gotta wrap this up. I gotta do about 7 more minutes here. We got a comment here. Oh, kids are coming to class. Yeah, you definitely need to mute BC Lions. All right, you know what time it is.
The weekend started. I'll tell you what, that stinger is like a beer and a half, buddy.
It is. It's like a nice, cool single malt whiskey going down easy on like Sunday morning. Anyway, I don't know.
Drinking whiskey on a Sunday morning, just nice.
All right. All right, it's my turn here. All right, as the election gets closer and closer, we get all of this talk about districts and maps, and Steve Kornacki is just training like a beast. And in the Cape space, when I hear districts, I think of one thing: the districts of Panem from the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
So we're gonna play a game called Whose District Runs District. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It should have been like this: Whose district runs district? All right. The game is simple.
Say what?
Yep. I'm going to name a district from Pan Am, and you will have to tell me what it's known for. It's multiple choice. I realized I need a prop for this, and it's in the bedroom, and I can't go get it, but it's fun.
Oh, Kenny. What a thing to say. What a thing to say to me.
All right. You ready? It's multiple choice. You ready?
Yeah.
Number 1, District 2. A, grain. B, textiles. C, masonry and weapons manufacturing. D, produce.
I'm going to say C.
Yes, it is. Answer is C. Correct. Masonry and weapons manufacturing.
Wow, those go together like peanut butter and chocolate.
Yes. Number 2, District 4. A, grain. B, fish. C, textiles. D, remember the Hunger Games? A book about children murdering each other is a book for young adults.
Is it fish, Kenny?
Oh, no, the answer is A. No, sorry. It is fish. Sorry, B, fish.
Get it together, would you?
I'm sorry.
The people trust you to adjudicate these games fairly. Okay, go.
Are you ready? Number 3.
Yes.
District 9. A, grain. B, steel. C, textiles. D, teens are speared, shot with arrows, stabbed, mauled by wild animals, burned, and have their heads smashed in and their necks broken. Yet Barbie made a Katniss Everdeen doll. So is this actually for kids and not just young adults? Question mark.
Is it steel, Kenny?
No, it's grain. A, grain.
Shoot.
All right, you ready for the next one?
Let's do it.
Number 4, District 7. A, grain. B, Like, do you want me to read the book about kids murdering kids to my kid? I mean, I just don't understand why make the toy if you don't think I then have to tell my kid what the book or the movie is about. And then do I have to then have the conversation with my kid about how people die and then that I'm going to die? That I realized on the day my child was born, that was when I fully knew that I was going to die because I don't want to outlive my child and therefore I have to die at some point? Is that what you want, Mattel? Is that what you want? C, textiles. D, lumber.
Lumber.
It is lumber. Correct. All right, you ready? Number 5.
Let's do it.
District 6. A, grain. B, textiles. C, transportation. D, lumber.
Is it transportation?
It is transportation.
Hacha. Okay.
All right, you ready for the final one?
Let's happen it.
District
Let's
12.
happening?
Let's
All right.
happening. Got it. District 12. A, look, I have 2 of the dolls. This is where I'm supposed to have the prop. I'm supposed to have the dolls. These were given to me by a friend because at the time her husband worked at Lionsgate, the distributor of the Hunger Games, and my daughter was very little, and my friend thought I could give them to her when she got old enough to play with dolls. And then around age 7, my daughter became obsessed with Barbies. She would spend hours on FaceTime calls, it was the pandemic, playing with Barbies, and this would have been the perfect time for me to give her these Katniss and Peeta, or as I call them, penis, with 2 S's. But that would have also had me telling my 7-year-old that since all of her Barbies are inclusive and diverse, that Katniss Everdeen's diversity is that she is particularly skilled at murdering children with a bow and arrow. Have fun, hun. It's not like we can go anywhere. B, grain. C, coal. B, grain. C, coal. D, grain.
Is it grain?
No, it's coal. And that was...
Shoot!
Whose district? Ron's district.
By the way, you could have told her that Peeta's special skill was making himself up to look like a river rock or whatever the hell that was.
Yeah, he's good at painting and cooking, I believe.
That's like being good at masonry and weapons.
Masonry and weapons. Transportation. Here in district whatever, we're into transportation. This is the part of the time. I gotta get out here. Hoopla Digital. This is where you can put in your library card and you can check out all kinds of digital comics. Alex, do you have any recommendations for the folks?
Yeah, Legends, which is the 1986 follow-up to the big crossover Crisis on Infinite Earths from DC Comics. It introduces a new Justice League, and it's a fun thing to read when I look back and go, wait. The superheroes are kind of the bad guys in this one a little bit. It does look at the question of, I've got this power ring, so I get to fight crime, and everybody gets to go, well, you could have killed somebody. And 2 times heroes go, yeah, but I didn't.
ACAB. BC Lions. ASAB. All superheroes are bastards. Lions says, happy Thanksgiving weekend to all the Canadians. It's his Canadian Thanksgiving this weekend. I love it. I love that for you all. I'm going to recommend, since we're talking about Wiccan, I'm going to recommend House of M. It's on, you can get that on Hoopla. House of M is what a lot of people were conjecturing was going to happen when WandaVision came out. It's basically Scarlet Witch uses her powers to erase all mutants. So she's able to create... And it's because of her kids. So it's very similar kind of plot device of WandaVision, but it's also a good way to get reacquainted with her power set, which is very large. So
massive.
Just get in there and check it out. It's not lost on me, dorks, that the 2 people who have probably the largest, 3 people that have the largest skill set, if you include Drax's baby arm in the MCU, are women. Captain Marvel, Scarlet Witch, and Gaia are the 3 most powerful people that exist in the MCU. Period. End of story.
And by the way, even if you just like match them up on a strength for strength level, they could beat Thor, Hulk, or who is the other, like Iron Man, another strength corollary.
Destroy Iron Man.
Sisters are doing it for themselves, baby.
I love this. Alex, we got one more ad read from the disaster preparation people.
Yes, it's the South Buena Vista Earthquake Council. They want to say, your pets may become confused because they don't understand what's going on. Just tell them that mommy and daddy aren't hurting one another. They're just wrestling. This is the most important tip. This could save your life. This one thing could cut post-earthquake ER visits in half. Gently tap the tops of all beverage cans that may have become more highly pressurized due to the shaking.
It's a good point.
Then this is a really important one. When you feel the ground start to move, extend your arms to the side and make yourself as large as possible. The earthquake will fear you if they think you are bigger than them, but will be extra aggressive around its young. So that's the South Buena Vista Earthquake Council wishing you a happy Canadian Thanksgiving.
Wonderful. That was a very good one. Alex, what did your dogs think of this episode?
Just like most TV episodes, they just liked having me around the house, baby.
Yeah, my dog was sitting I was watching it here on my work computer, and because there was some things happening on the main TV, and she was right here next to me, so she was into it this week.
Hey, rock and roll.
I think it was the big hair. Alex, where can the folks find you? I got to get out of here and do
Duke_midnight on Threads and Instagram and wherever major magazines are sold.
You can find me at Kenny G. Stevenson on TikTok and Twitch, Kenny G. Donut King on Threads and Instagram, and 2 weeks from today, October 25th at 7 p.m., doors open, show starts at 8, I will be hosting a fundraiser for Culver City Council candidate Nancy Barba. We have an absolutely insane lineup of comics. We've got Kieran Deal, Aparna Nancherla, Dan Mintz, Daniel Van Kirk, Brent Weinbach, Madison Shepard, myself, Abe Smith, and then Ilana Sullivan-Cohn and Alicia Gaddis will be doing a drag show as J.D. Vance and Tim Walls. So come check it out. Tickets are very expensive. It's a fundraiser. So,
you tell that Abe I said hi.
I will, and it's good stuff. Come on down, check it out. Go to nancybarber.com for all the details. And that's our show for the week.
I'm so glad I'm not on the lineup. It would have been so intimidating. Thank you. Speaking of peeing in my pants.
Well, I'm on the lineup, and so I have to do some stuff. I have to hit up the open mic, so you'll see me around LA this week trying out material. Bye. Wait. What just happened with the balloons?
Oh, wait. Did I just make balloons? I just went like this.
Yes, and balloons came up. Balloons just came up. That was incredible. Little balloons came up. I love it.
Friggin', you're welcome, dude.
Did you have to do it like this? Like this?
I don't think the Vickers will do it for you.
Come on. Here we go.
Hold on. Let me turn off my virtual background. Oh, God, you can see it now.
No, I don't know. It's not going to happen. Let's get out of here. Bye.
Bye.